people didn't prepare for the rain. Everyone's trying to get out of here now. It's partly rainy today as expected. I guess a good thing though is it looks like the air cleared up. Everything says it's good now. Back to normal, I guess, huh? I guess all the rain helped to push things down as well as the wind, basically blowing it out of this area. So hopefully we don't hit that again anytime soon. Alright, what did I read today? This one was a little odd, I guess, with the information. It seems like there's a lot of, I guess, missing pieces, which doesn't make sense in some ways. But it deals with the topic and how so many people are afraid of drones, even toy ones, saying how they can spy on people, they can like kill you, so to speak. Well, how about this one? Apparently around here, like within this province, it says here, drone strikes Coquitlam councillor in the forehead, triggers concussion. Coquitlam councillor Terry Towner says people need to be careful when using flyable devices after she was struck while riding her bike. A Coquitlam city councillor is suffering from a concussion and a whiplash after getting hit in the head with a drone while riding her bike last week. Councillor Terry Towner says she was cycling through the schoolyard at Mundy Elementary when the remote-controlled gadget came out of nowhere and struck her forehead between her helmet and her sunglasses. And she posted this on her Twitter account. It says, "This is hard to believe, but 8 days ago while cycling on an empty field or trail, a drone came out of nowhere and hit me in the head. I am still in agony while I try to recover from a concussion and whiplash, missing exercise, movement, and being online." And she has all these pictures of like a person with like a headache, so to speak, and a picture of a drone. And I guess it makes it super dramatic with this picture, I guess, like what is that, in a hospital bed or something? Like with a mask on and all that, implying she basically experienced some severe injury because of this. That's where kind of the confusing part comes in, because the information seems a little, I guess, mixed. I know the interpretation here where the person says get hit by a drone, they're gonna assume, oh, they got hit by something like a Phantom or a Mavic or something like that. But in the article here it says, "It stunned me, but I kept going," she said. "If I was half a second faster or slower, the whole thing wouldn't have happened." Initially, Towner did not realize how badly she was hurt and carried on with her ride. But by the time she arrived at her destination, she said she was starting to feel the symptoms. She went to the hospital the next day, where she was told she had a concussion. She returned to the ER a week later, still feeling unwell, and was told she also had a whiplash. "I'm still not better," she said Friday. "It's gotten worse. It was more of a significant blow to the head than I thought. For the time being, doctors have told Towner not to look at screens, something that is required of the city councillor in a time of COVID-19 when most meetings are held online. She is also prohibited from exercising until the symptoms pass." Towner has put up posters in the area around the school in the hopes that the man who was flying the drone will come forward. So it's unfortunate, although I was just trying to understand this, it doesn't really make sense overall, because a whiplash and a concussion, and also it says here specifically in the article anyways, it says it came out of nowhere and struck her forehead between her helmet and her sunglasses. So I'm trying to think about that. You're riding a bike, let's just say you're going really fast, and it hits you between your helmet and your sunglasses. So I'm just using like this picture as a reference from some site where they sell, I guess, helmets. I mean, think about that. A drone that hits between your helmets and your sunglasses. With how the situation I'm trying to envision, I would imagine she's riding forward and the drone was, I guess, flying sideways, and like she said, in a split second she probably ran into it. But there's no way that could be like a Phantom, for example, or a Mavic with how she's describing. She said between her helmet and sunglasses. So it kind of makes me think, if it was a drone, then it could be like these toy grade ones. Like I'm just gonna randomly show something that I see here online. I'd imagine it would have to be something like this, correct? These little tiny drones. Because something like a Phantom, for example, or even like say a Mavic Pro, those things are loud. You're gonna be able to hear that coming like really close. At the same time, I can't imagine how that's gonna hit you in between the eye and the helmet without that thing actually hitting like the helmet full on first, like the propellers and all that. So it has to be something really tiny like this, just from what she wrote, from what I gather anyways. If it hits you between the sunglasses and the helmet, like, that's gotta be like a pretty accurate hit too, isn't it? To be that tiny with that little tight space. And then as the article indicates, I guess apparently in the area there's like flyers around there saying, "Were you the man flying this?" or whatever, according to this anyways, like come forward because this person's injured. But then it says here, quote, "It's not like a rear ender where you get out and exchange insurance papers," she said, adding, "I would like this person to step forward, but I haven't heard anything." She is warning residents that using flyable technology to be careful of others and make sure the area is clear when using their devices. That's another thing I really don't get. You're riding a bike, and you get hit by, like, say, this drone, wouldn't your natural reaction would be to stop and say, hey, what was that? I know if I got hit like just randomly over here right now with a soccer ball or a frisbee, I'd stop and like be like, hey, who did that? Who's around here? Wouldn't that be the case here as well? That's why I don't get. Because more than likely, again, just with the way this story described, it pretty much has to be like one of these tiny ones from what I gather. I just wondering why they didn't actually do more, I guess, investigator questioning, like, hey, how big was it and all that? Size, could you actually hear it? And again, if it is a tiny one, I would imagine it would have dropped right on the person's lap or right in the ground for them to turn around looking if there is anybody there. Because it's unfortunate and things happen. In my opinion, situations like this should be just treated as an incident like anything else. Like I said, if you're in the park here randomly, somebody accidentally hits you with a frisbee or a soccer ball, it's an incident. I don't need like some kind of like over-the-top regulation now saying if you're gonna like throw a frisbee or a soccer ball, you need to be like something like what, 30 meters or whatever away from other people. I mean, use common sense. That's how it should be in general. Which made me wonder, are people, because of the way this, I guess, thing is being portrayed with a person sitting in a hospital bed, are they gonna say, oh, now you gotta regulate toys as well? Like, for example, just some of the tweets here, like in the response, like this person says, lots of questions here. Was it a licensed drone? Was it over 250 grams? What was the age of the operator? If no, there are strict rules governing drones in Canada. Like that whole talk just about that comment about regulation and stuff like that, it makes me think of the point again where this whole drone licensing stuff, like they said, is really strict with Transport Canada. It kind of misses the mark completely in terms of actually teaching people what they need to know to fly safely and all that. Instead, they stuff you up with all this ridiculous and irrelevant questions for a drone operator, like questions about clouds or flying. Like, for example, like what? If you're 2,500 feet in the air or something like that, like you don't need to know that stuff for a basic person, like to fly a basic drone. It should really be more about situational awareness and understanding basic safety protocols. And I guess on the other side of the perspective, I sincerely hope this isn't one of those situations kind of like in the other parts of the world where there was like a helicopter pilot that crashed and you can see all these pictures that the media was posting, like the guy's all bloodied and all that, and they're like, what happened? And the guy reported to them, oh, he saw a drone or something like that and then he crashed because of it. And then everyone says, oh, now these drones are dangerous, that's why we need regulations, etc, etc. But then it turned out that wasn't true. Like, there was no drone, like that was a fact once they did the investigation. So I hope this is not one of those situations where it was something else, but that's just the first thing that comes to your mind because of mainstream media stories and all that like this. And for anyone who wants to use these stories as an example of, well, that's why we need regulations, I think again with that story this year of the police crashing a huge drone into a helicopter around so many different people and all that, and nothing was done, no investigation, I think you can rule out that theory where that's the reason why these regulations are here, in my opinion. Because that was an actual real crash and all that with real tangible evidence and nothing was done. So I hope people aren't using stuff like this to say, well, that's why you need to regulate things like toys and stuff now too. And then the other question is, could it have possibly been something else other than a drone? I guess according to this scenario with how it's described. Be interested in hearing any, I guess, theories or anything like that. Look at the sunlight trying to come out. Alright, see you guys later.